Hey everybody, it's Meredith Miller from Inner Integration, and today the topic I want to bring to you is about the codependency control factor. This might be something you haven't really thought about a lot. Typically, when we think about control, we think about what the narcissist does, what the psychopath does. They're controlling your life in some way, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually. In some way, they had control over your life. But I would encourage you to look a little deeper and recognize that you too probably have some control issues. Now, these are hard to face. These are really hard to admit. We don't want to admit these. I didn't want to admit that I had some sort of, desire to control things. But if you think back to the relationship, right? When you were trying to fix the person, you were trying to heal the person, you were just trying to make things better, you were trying to make it work, and it was like an impossible situation. It was a situation you never should have settled for, but you were trying to control the outcome in some way. Well, I didn't want to recognize that was a control thing, and maybe you didn't either. And I think one of the the phrases that I hear that really calls upon this control factor is, my love will save him, or my love will fix her, or heal her, or say, one of these sorts of phrases. That's the control right there. That's where you think you have some kind of illusion that you have any control over someone else, and you don't. And that's the thing. And that will only lead you to a sense of powerlessness. So if you feel a sense of powerlessness and helplessness, if you're feeling exhausted and tired, if you feel like there's all this scarcity in your life, there's this lack of abundance, you don't feel like your life is abundant, you don't feel like things are working, you don't feel like, maybe you feel like you're taking one step forward and two steps back. And this keeps happening. You're like, you finally take that step forward and then two steps back, in that sort of game. And really, this is coming down to the control factor. And so the only solution here is to let go and let things flow. And right now, we're in this Pisces transit. We just went through that eclipse and the new moon. And so if you're having a really hard time right now, this is the issue. You're not letting it flow. There's something you're grabbing onto that you're not willing to let go of. Whatever that is, it's your idea of how something has to be. It's your idea of perfection. It's your idea of some outcome, that's not happening. Whatever that is, there's something outside of you that you're probably trying to control. If you're feeling amazing right now, if you're feeling a sense of abundance right now, you're in the flow. So good job to you. So letting go is entirely a mental thing. It's entirely a mental thing, right? So like our mind has sort of like these ideas of like how things have to be, or who we have to be, or how we have to be. And then if we don't do it just right, we're going to beat ourselves up about it, or maybe we self-sabotage because we're like, well, I can't do it. It's too much. I'm not going to be able to. Nothing is possible. All of the old negativity paradigm that you've heard before. And truly, letting go is probably one of the hardest things to do in human life. It's really, really hard because you feel a sense of vulnerability if you don't have that control. When you have control, or when you think you have control, or when you desire for that control, it's like this false sense of security. It's not real. You have no control over anything outside of you. The only thing you have control over is yourself, your attitudes, your actions, how you show up, where you invest all of your mental and emotional energy. That's where the true control is. Control is really just self-control. It's control you have over yourself. And the universe responds to you. The world around you responds to that. And I think probably one of the reasons why this is so hard is because it requires trust. It requires trust. First, you have to trust in yourself. Second, you have to trust in the universe. This universe wants to help you. It really does. You just have to get out of your own way. Letting go is the way forward. Letting go is the path of abundance. This is where the magic sauce is. And it's sort of like you learn this layer by layer, like you're unlocking levels of this. Like the more you relax, the more you let go, the more you get into the flow. And it's like layer by layer by layer. And you can even feel it in your body, like in the fascia that connects everything. I've noticed this in the last week. the more I'm relaxing, the more I'm just letting go. Just it's like layer by layer. And every layer of that control that you release, every layer of that you relax more, you're going to be rewarded with that abundance from the universe. So what's in the way when you're getting in your own way? What is in the way? It's doubt and fear. That's it. It really comes down to doubt and fear. And that's entirely in your mind. And it starts in your mind, that control factor. It's in your mind, but then it ends up playing out in your body. Like you might notice that you start to develop physiological problems because there's so much of this tension in your mind. You might notice there's like a particular pathway in your body. I notice it when I pay attention. It starts like behind my neck and my head somewhere. I'm guessing that's like around the reptilian brain, which I think is where this whole control thing comes from because it's driven by fear. And the fear is the reptilian brain. And so it goes from there into my neck and in the shoulder blade, and it all gets crunched up, and then it goes into my left side, somewhere in the back, in the rib cage. And I can literally feel this zigzag. It's like a lightning bolt. And then I can reverse engineer it. And I realize like it's all coming from back here. And so when I meditate, I'm just gonna close my eyes and breathe and focus my awareness into that place inside my head, that epicenter of control. And practice breathing into that and relaxing, and breathing into that and relaxing, and breathing into that and relaxing. And you'll be surprised what you noticed. Like patterns show up, connections show up, realizations show up that maybe you hadn't considered before. So control is based on fear. It's driven by fear. Now, fear serves a biological purpose. When there is a life or death situation, you make a decision based on the fear that saves your life. But if you're making daily decisions based on fear, you're probably making a lot of bad decisions. They're not the best decisions for sure. You've got this narrowed vision, because that's what happens in fear, is it becomes like this narrow vision and all you see is that, and you miss all this big picture. So it's like you lose track of the whole terrain. Like you can only see the tree, you can't see the whole forest. You're not going to make your best decisions that way. That's going to lead to more regret. That's going to disconnect you further from your sense of intuition and inner guidance. It's going to get in the way of that. If everything is driven by fear, you're not going to be making the best decisions. You're not going to be making the decisions that lead to what you want in life. You're not going to be making decisions that generate a sense of abundance in your life. This universe really wants to help you. This universe is infinitely abundant. You just need to tap into the flow, which means you need to get out of your own way. So how are you getting in your way? It's your idea of perfection. You know, it has to be just like this. It has to be just like that. If you were raised by a narcissist or psychopath or sociopath, you learned that. You learned that like you had to do everything perfect or you wouldn't get in trouble, you were going to get punished. You know, but the reality is that there is no such thing as perfection. Everything in life is perfectly imperfect. That's just the way it is. And you need to accept that. So when you find yourself chasing after that sense of perfection, which you might be doing right now because that's a Piscean thing, if you're chasing after that perfection, you got to recognize, let that go. Let that go. There's no such thing as perfection. Okay, sometimes we make mistakes and we look back and we recognize where we went wrong or a decision that we would have made differently if we had had more awareness, if we had just calmed down for a moment instead of making that split-second decision driven by fear. The other thing is, you know, when you just want things to be just so, right? It's like just trying to control every little thing and it's like just driving you crazy because it's just not like that. Life is not like that. You can't control things like that, you know? I was at the airport a week ago. I got all these bags, you know, I'm living down here and it's always the weight game, you know, it's always 50 pounds and you're trying to guess, is it 50, is it over, is it under? And you want to fill it to the maximum, but you don't want to go over. So I get there, you know, one of my bags is 45 pounds and one of them is 55 pounds, you know, it's like 4 or 5 pounds overweight, 54, 55. And the woman's like, well, you know, can you take out 4 pounds? And so, you know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like opening the suitcase. I got it out. Venus is over there. There's all these people in line. I'm breaking out into a sweat and I'm like pulling out items and I'm weighing them one by one. It's like 1 pound, half a pound. I'm like, this is not going to happen. And I'm like, I could sit here and try to control all of this, or I could just hand this lady my credit card and just tell her to charge me for the heavy bag. You know, she's like, it's $100. I'm like, fine, it's worth my sanity. Here's my credit card, you know, and just deal with it like that and just let go. Sometimes we have to make these decisions, you know, that, you know, maybe I didn't want to spend $100 on that, but, you know, to me, $100 was well worth my sanity. It was well worth not getting overly stressed and worked up and panicked before, you know, starting that whole journey. I didn't want to start the journey on that tone. I decided to relax and let go and send it to the universe and accept that's just the way things were. The other day, I was at this organic place and they have this like little salad bar, and this older woman came in and she sat down at this community table, and there was a guy at the other end, and they knew each other, and they said hello, and she's like, oh, you know, it's not nearly as good today. They didn't have all the things I was expecting or hoping for and all the things I like. And the guy goes, sounds like life, right? Totally. Sometimes you get to the salad bar and it's kind of empty. There isn't a lot of stuff there. Maybe it's kind of picked over. Maybe they don't have your favorite stuff. Is it the end of the world? No, right? That's how life is. Things aren't always exactly as we want them to be. Sometimes we try to accomplish things in life and they just don't turn out the way that we hoped or the way that we expected or what we really wanted. And for whatever reason, sometimes that just happens. And it's important to trust that everything is happening for the higher good. Everything is happening for the higher good. Trust in the process. You know, how old are you? How old is this universe? Think about 10 years ago. Think about how much more awareness you have now than you had 10 years ago, right? Like the decisions you make now are really different than the decisions you made 10 years ago. Well, this universe is billions and billions and billions of years older than you and I. Don't you think it's a little wiser than us? Don't you think it's a little arrogant that you think you know everything, right? So just relax and trust that the universe is flowing the way it needs to flow. So instead of trying to control everything outside yourself, recognize that the only thing you really have control over is yourself and where you direct your mental and emotional energy. Where are you directing it? Are you focusing your mental, emotional energy on stuff that's out of your control? You're driving yourself nuts. Are you getting a lot of headaches? That's a big sign. Do you have migraines? Do you have headaches? That's a big sign that you're trying to control things and it's not working. You know, even IBS, things like that, you know, when the intestines get like all tight and stuff, probably something you're holding on to and not letting go, right? The body is very symbolic in that way. So when you start to read your body, you start to understand like a mirror of your life. What are the issues that are going on in your life? So here's the filter question. And the filter question is, do you have any control over that? Whatever that is, whatever the topic is, whatever the issue, whatever the problem, whatever the situation, do you have any control over that? Two possibilities, right? The first one is no. Like say you realize you have no control over any of that, right? So the only thing you can do at that point is to let go and trust. The alternative is you drive yourself crazy. You drive yourself insane. You drive yourself sick. You just living this very uncomfortable, unhappy life, okay? The other side is you say, yes, okay, I do have control over something. Okay, good. So you recognize there's something you have control over there. So make a plan and take action. Do it, right? There's only two things, yes or no. Do you have any control over it or do you not? So if you don't have any control over it, let it go. Start breathing, start relaxing. Maybe it's helpful to even like squeeze your palm, like your grip really tight, and then imagine releasing it. Squeeze it really tight and then release it. Because sometimes like we can't, the mind is so intangible, right? So the body is more tangible, it's more physical, it's more real. So if you grab it in your hand and you do this and like you just tense all your muscles and body up like this and then release it and let it go and practice that over and over. Even in situations, you know, maybe you're out and about and you're trying to get stuff done and it's just not working, or you're driving yourself nuts, or maybe you're in the car and you're in rush hour and you have no control over that and you're just stuck. So you have the steering wheel, right? And just grip the steering wheel and release, and grip it and release, and just practice that release and letting go. So the reward to letting go, the reward to not trying to control everything that's out of your control is abundance. This life, this universe wants to give you so much abundance if you would just let it. right? It's a receptive thing. You can't be controlling everything if you want to receive. You can't receive that way. When you let go, it flows to you. You open to that energy, and then you're just full of gratitude. It's like tears of joy. It's like the life that you've always wanted is manifesting because you get yourself into that flow. So that's the message I have for you guys today. I hope that you spend some time practicing this. I see it's a big theme coming up right now. People are talking about these control issues. Partly, I think it's cosmic. Also, just relating it to the narcissistic abuse factor and the control factor coming from codependency, and not maybe even realizing that there is a control factor that you're dealing with too. So I'm sending you all a big hug.